Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of AWS Show and Tell. This is Anil Nadiminti. I'm your host joining today from Seattle, and today we're going to talk about a fun topic. It's to build agentic AI apps. And joining alongside is Adam and Prakash.
Hey, thanks, Anil. Yeah, Adam Bloom here from St. Louis. Man, I can't believe you're all the way in Seattle. Having fun out there?
Yeah, just came out this morning. I mean, it was a morning flight, so I'll be flying out tomorrow. And it's always good to be having the light outside, and I'm going to have some fun in the next couple of days. We have Prakash as well.
Hey, Anil and Adam, glad to meet you all. And I'm hi to everyone who is joining the session. I'm very excited to moderate this session from the chat side. By the way, I'm based out of Denver, Colorado. We had 80s for the last couple of days, and today's it is in 50s. Anybody who knows Colorado, it is not surprising, but that's exactly like how the agents are building it up. The dynamic nature, the real nature is coming into the AI here.
Yeah.
Very excited about the session.
Nice. Cool. So I guess we're going to chat about and also show you building generative AI applications with Strands Agents and MCP. Today we have our guests that are joining us, guest speakers. They're internal to AWS, and they're here to present us a demo on how you could build generative AI applications, and we'll bring them on the stage now.
Hey, Strands team. You guys want to introduce yourselves, starting with Amanda?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. My name's Amanda. I'm a senior Gen AI go-to-market specialist at AWS based in Dallas, Texas, and excited to tell everyone a little bit more about Strands Agents and MCP.
Awesome. Aaron, how about you?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. I'm Aaron, one of the engineers working on Strands. You might see me around GitHub as AWS Aaron on some of the issues and discussions. So yeah, looking forward to show you some stuff today. I'm over in New York, so we have a few different locations today.
We're all over the place, and we have guests joining from everywhere, right? So let us know in the chat where you're joining from. We see people joining from New Zealand, Chicago, SoCal, Kansas, right? So there's folks from everywhere. So yeah, I mean, we're getting into, and there we have somebody from London as well, right? So we have folks joining from everywhere. But today we are going to talk about an exciting topic. Adam, you want to kick it off?
We have to kick it off with Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Myra here. So I'm a tech lead for generative AI and agentic workloads at AWS, and I'm very excited to talk about Strands Agents here today with you and to build a real-life application.
Can't wait, Myra. So there is a lot going on in agentic space. We know that you've been leading a number of conversations there, and Myra and me have been, working on some workshops, and can't wait to see what we are presenting today and showing our viewers.
Yeah, let's get into it. So,
Excellent.
what do you guys got for us today about AWS Strands? I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, it is. We're super excited to talk more about Strands Agents. Strands Agents is a new open sourced SDK that we just made available for customers and announced a little under 2 weeks ago. And specifically, the goal at AWS is to make sure that we're providing all types of developers with the broadest choice for building and deploying agents at scale and in production. And Strands is one of the many solutions that are available from AWS today to be able to go and build and deploy agents. And specifically, when it comes to the available options, we really think we really want to make sure that we're providing multiple paths to build agents depending on the specific developer needs. And what do I mean by that is today we offer a specialized out-of-the-box pre-built products from Amazon Q, where our Amazon team is building agents into products that you can use out of the box that will help enhance the productivity of your end users. And then we also offer fully managed a fully managed offering for developers called Amazon Bedrock Agents, which is a great solution for building a foundation model powered orchestration. And if you are a developer that wants more deeper customization of agentic behavior, and you want to be able to leverage and embrace the latest capabilities from models and tools, that's where Strands Agents is really going to meet the needs. And when you think about the variety of different offerings that AWS offers today, this is one of the many ways that AWS in this rapidly evolving agentic AI space is helping to meet those needs and help accelerate innovation for customers.
You know, Amanda, I was like thinking, like, I love how we have so many great choices here for customers. We're meeting customers where they're at in their agentic kind of, evolution here. And I think Strands is just that next evolution of agents. And I'm super excited about this. Do you guys want to talk about, why is it named Strands, and, what does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So Strands Agents is specifically, it comes out of the fact that innovation is in Amazon's DNA. And when you think about Strands and specifically the design principles around this particular SDK, is that Strands is going to be leveraging both the model and the tools to get the most out of your agents. So we want to make sure that in the naming around Strands Agents that we encompassed the evolution and the DNA aspect of how you can leverage Strands to accelerate innovation across the board for developers. Aaron, is there any other piece that you wanted to add in there?
No, I think that's mostly it, right? It's like the twin strands of DNA, exactly as you say. The model, your tools, kind of make the agent. So yeah.
Looks like we have our first question. If we want to bring that up here really quick. Yeah, Adriana is asking, which training is recommended for learning more about Strands Agents?
We'll share a bunch of resources today, but we've just launched this morning a workshop with Strands, and you can build, you can go step by step from getting started to real applications, including the one we are going to share today. So you can really get started with the workshop and learn step by step. Aaron's also going to show the documentation. So I'm very proud of the developers at Aaron's team, because they put a lot of effort on getting the documentation to a stage where you can search and you can really get things going. So there is a lot to learn there.
It's cool that the workshop is announced today, and we are able to get this in the Show and Tell series. Thanks for that, Myra.
That is awesome.
Yeah, of course. And then I'm just sharing on the screen here some of the additional resources that are available on the Strands Agents SDK, and then we've provided the QR code, so it makes it easier for you to access the documentation, specifically the SDK, and then some of the pre-built tools that will go into a little bit more in detail when we do the demo. And then we have a variety of different pre-built samples that our solution architects and data scientists have already pre-built to make it easier to get started building your agents.
And we're also putting the link to this workshop in the chat. Prakash is doing that in a second here. But yeah, as we get into this, what are we going to demo today, right? So as we talk more into the content, I know that we have like a couple of more slides, but just want to hear about what we're going to be demoing today to our viewers.
Yeah, so today we are going to create a personal assistant. I think the whole Agentic AI has made this transformation where you can create things very quickly, and it can be very useful for your day-to-day life. So we created a personal assistant that will help you building appointments, booking something on the calendar. It will also help you searching things on the internet and getting some code. So I think code is in the center of agentic AI. It's in the center of the Gen AI revolution. And it makes all the sense to bring that also to our personal assistant. So yeah, I'm going to be booking my appointments with our personal assistant after today. And I hope you will too.
Excellent. Yeah, with that background about what's going to come up, Amanda, I see that you brought up this slide about Strands Agent, and it all starts with "Hello World."
Yes, absolutely. So, so just a little bit more detail on Strands Agents. Strands is an open source SDK, and this was specifically a product that we were building internally to solve some of the needs from our own internal teams that were in the process of trying to build agents into Amazon's own products. One of the examples of one of the teams that developed Strands Agents and was having challenges building and making it faster to build agents into products that Amazon is offering today at scale in production for end users is the Amazon Q development team. And that team in particular was when they were going through and trying to build, for example, Amazon Q CLI, was running into the process where it was taking months to get these agent workloads into production. And that team, in terms of innovation and the bias for action, went ahead and built the first version of Strands Agents SDK with the intent to make it easier to leverage the reasoning and tool use capabilities from models that are available today. And they used this to innovate faster and to make it easier to put these agentic products into production much faster. And you're seeing on the screen here the specifically the how accelerated it is to for these various internal teams to get those into production. Once the Amazon Q team saw how easy it was to benefit from building agents with Strands Agents SDK, they then opened it up for other development teams internally. And some of those additional internal teams that are using Strands Agents today and have built agents that are in production include the AWS Glue team and VPC Reachability Analyzer is another team that's using it. And from those success stories, we really realized that this wasn't just something that was battle tested internally, but something that we could make sure is available for customers and developers around the world to be able to utilize to make it easier to build agents. And that's why we then decided to open source it, and we're super excited to bring Strands Agents to the open source community.
Wow, this is really awesome. Yeah. I think we have another question we could bring up too, if you want to, know.
Yep, sure. So here's the next one. We'd asked if you can connect it to Alexa.
You can connect to anything. It's open source, which is the beauty of Strands Agents, right? So you can develop your application and connect it with anything. And Aaron's team have developed a set of built-in tools that help integrating with some of our AWS services, so that makes it easier to do as well. But Aaron, have you built anything for Alexa specifically?
Not just yet. So looking forward to see the community work on that as well. But yeah, we're able to connect the Strands Agents to anywhere we can run Python. We're able to run the Strands Agents, and we can connect them to APIs and client applications very easily. So yeah.
Yeah. So folks in the chat, if you want to collaborate and build something,
Yeah.
share it with us, right? So share it in the comments later when we come back to this video. So with that said, can we? Yeah, Myra, you were going to say something.
I would say not just share it, like create the PR, right? It is open source, so we
Yeah.
really want the community participation here. So go ahead and create a PR, get your tools added to the framework, get your samples added to the framework as well. And we all together will make Strands even better than what it is already right.
And also, if you have a solutions architect with you, they can help you as well.
Okay.
Excellent. So let's get into the next part of the. Do we want to chat more about the details of Strands Agent, or you want to get into the demo part? What are we doing next?
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit more with Myra and Aaron, specifically around some of the key features that really make it easy to build and run these agents. That I want to make sure that everyone that's joining us today is aware of. So I guess the first question that I have for Aaron and Myra is we know that Strands Agents simplifies agentic development, but what specifically about Strands makes it the easiest way to build agents?
Yeah, I'm gonna speed up here a little bit because I also want to get to the fun part of it, right? And all builders here, and we want to get to the hands-on. But Strands was built by builders for builders, so it is really a great tool for you to get started. It's a great tool for you to contribute, and there are a couple of functionalities that I'm really excited about. The model choice. Model choice is always has always been a very important point for AWS with Bedrock models and bringing like different choices for the applications, because we know that it's not there is not one model that will run the whole world, and there are like trade-offs that needs to be done for choosing the best model for your application. And that's possible on Strands. You can connect, it's even more choice, right? You can connect with Bedrock models, but you can also connect with a Light LLM. You can connect with Anthropic 1P directly, with Meta 1P directly. You can build your own connector as well. If none of this is available, you can build your own. On top of that, tools. Tools are available out of the box with the built-in tools that Aaron's team have created, and they are really, really useful. We are going to showcase some of those today. We built a full agent for coding with only built-in tools. I didn't write code for any of the tools, and you get a full code assistant, right? But we know that this is not sufficient for every application, and it wouldn't be a agentic AI conversation today if we wouldn't talk about MCP. And MCP integration is there, and Adam is smiling here because we are all onboarded on the MCP, and we see the need for that. We see the need for standardization. Yes, now E is equal MCP. That's true. And like we integrate with MCP with different transports protocols of MCP. It's all native, so it's very easy to get started, and we are going to show you that as well. Don't take my word for that. We are going to take the code we wrote for that, right? And last, like even if like all the tools on MCP are not enough, or all the built-in tools are not enough, you can create your own tool, and you can create your own tool with decorators. It's super easy to do so. You can create your own tools on separated files using the tool spec definition, and use that to reuse that across applications. So it is very scalable as well when you're having all of those different tools. You cannot talk about scalability without talking about deploying. And I know AWS for deploying, right? But we know that some of you might disagree with me, and that's also really cool about Strands. You can deploy anywhere. You can deploy on Lambda, you can deploy on Fargate, EC2, ECS, all of those, and also outside of AWS if you choose to do so. And the last one that I really love, And I've been working with agents for almost 2 years now, and I must say that 90% of customer challenges on observability and not being able to really interact on the agent's configurations and see what is happening and then evaluate what is happening. And the good news is Strands integrates with observability, both natively, if you're just building on your experimentation environment, but also with open telemetry, which means that now you can connect your Strands to Langfields, you can connect that to Arise, you can connect that to your Datadog instance as well. And in just a few lines of codes, you're like seeing your agents and seeing what is going on. So it's really easier to do debug as well.
So,
yeah.
Myra, what you're saying is that we can easily bring in tools, right? So we can bring tools easily. We can integrate MCP servers. We can bring in models, any models that are out there. Practically, you can bring your own model provider as well, customize the model provider. We can deploy this anywhere. We have details about that it can be deployed in Lambda, it can run anywhere, right? So this is some of the details that bringing in, and yeah, please continue there, Myra.
Yeah, I want to say let's get started, because I think all of this is pretty boring and the code is the real part of it, right? And here is the application we are building. I think I forgot to mention, but we also support multi-agent collaboration. It's not 2025 if we are not talking about multi-agent collaboration. And there are different ways of doing multi-agent collaboration with Strands. We can do with agent as a tool. We can create a swarm of agents, graphs if you want a bit more control, workflows as well if you want to have the very setup, the very well-defined setup. All of those are available. And A2A is coming soon as well. So all of this we are integrating. So I think, Anil, you're going to need to have us back here in a couple of weeks to talk about A2A as well, right?
Yeah, I think after we get to this, Maria, I think we should definitely talk about swarms more, because I think that there's a question in the chat we can get to a little bit. And I know swarms and multi-agent collaboration is a really, really important area.
Yeah, I think Aaron can talk a little bit about that as well, but we do have a Swarms built-in tool that allows you to create a multi-agent collaboration with Swarms on Strands agents already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a few different tools and patterns that are supported, of course, actively working on them. So please do try them out, share your feedback. But yeah, swarms, networks of agents, graphs of agents, workflows, supervisor agents as tools, which we'll look at today. Many different options for these kind of multi-agent patterns.
Let's dive in. This is awesome.
Let's dive in.
Yep. So today, this is what we are creating. Your personal assistant. It's multi-agent collaboration. So you have 3 sub-agents in this case. So we are using agents as tool as a technology here behind. And the sub-agents we have is like a calendar assistant, where we are going to showcase different ways of creating tools for this sub-agent, as well as a built-in tool for the current time. So your agent actually knows what day is today, which is pretty cool. We have MCP, of course. There is no demo nowadays without MCP, so we are going to connect to the Perplexity MCP server. Before we get the question, yes, you can do that with different ways as well. We are connecting with Perplexity here, but you can have web search with different MCP servers as well. And Tavili is, for instance, one that we've got something built as well. And we have our code assistant, where we didn't write the code for any tool because they're all built-in tools. And this code assistant can generate code, it can execute the code, it can execute shell commands as well, and have the editor and journal tools as well. So Aaron, what is the journal tool doing here?
Yes, the journal tool here. So we'll take a look at it a bit deeper shortly, but it's giving the agent a work log. So the agent can assign itself tasks for the immediate future, for a day in the future, that kind of thing, and it can work through them and record its progress, resume from there, all of that kind of stuff. Just like if you're working on a project, right? You take a journal, record what you're working on, you are able to go back the next day and continue from that sort of stuff.
So then the agents can keep a track of all the tasks like a to-do list and really get back to where it left off, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. And we are using, for this application, we are going to use Bedrock models because it is very easy to use and it scales quite nicely here. But of course, you can use whatever model you want. If you want to have something running fully locally, you can also have Ollama models with Strands agents.
And Maida, I was going to also ask a question, right? So can Strands agents also talk to AWS services?
Yes, they can. So we do have a built-in tool for some of those services. So for instance, Retrieve that will talk with Amazon Bedrock knowledge bases. We have a use AWS tool as well that will talk with pretty much any AWS services that has a Boto3 client. So you can do a lot with it and you can build your own. So there are some examples where we are connecting to DynamoDBs, where we are connecting with Lambda functions. On the code samples, we are sharing some of those as well.
Looks like we have a question. Is there a SDK intended for low-level infrastructure deployment of agents, or is it intended for extending Bedrock capabilities?
So the deployment of Strands agents can be done any way you want. So we are providing some guidance to deploy Lambda on Fargate, on EC2, and yes, right, Aaron?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so it will work as any software application. And yeah, some of the tools help with like more the agentic flow of it.
I think one of the key things that we tried to add here was when you're calling these model providers, like Bedrock, Anthropic, OpenAI, etc., Llama, all of them really. When you call them, it's almost one cycle of an agent, right? This stateless call to the model where you provide all of the context, your system prompt, the tools, the messages. And it reasons through those. And what Strands is adding is some state management on top of that. So the agent is able to call a tool, look at the results of that, and then continue until it decides that it's done, sort of thing, and call multiple tools sequentially or in parallel.
All right. So do we want to go to your screen, Aaron?
Sure. Yeah. So this is this is a GitHub repository. You can see here, Strands Agents is a GitHub organization. Here we have the SDK. Lots of useful getting started information here. Recommend you go and have a look. An example of how quick it is to get started just here as well.
Is that it? Is the couple of lines to build an agent?
Yes, exactly. And this example here uses one of the built-in tools as well. So yeah. Just that simple. One of the things we really tried to focus on was a really simple, easy developer experience for getting started, but also making sure that that's not just throwaway work, right? That we're able to take what we've built and deploy it into production in a way that we're confident that the agent is behaving how we want it to. So some links here as well, documentation, samples.
And Aaron, I got to hand it to your team here. I've used Strands myself, and I'm just really blown away how easy it is, how intuitive it is to get going. I figured like swarms would have been a very difficult thing to get going, but it really wasn't.
Yeah. Oh, appreciate the compliments. So a couple of useful links at the top here. The documentation that Myra mentioned. Some useful links on the left if you have a look through. Recommend you start with the quick start guide, but lots of useful links in here. If we go up to the organization, you'll see the rest of the repositories here. So this tools repository that Myra mentioned, lots of useful tools in here. We'll take a look at some of those that we're using, along with the samples repository, which is one of them that we'll be going through today. So you can follow along with the code if you like at home as well. In this O2 samples. And then if you go to O5 personal assistant, this is the one we're going through today, so you can follow along as well. So this is the code. Yeah, so feel free to clone the repo. You can follow along at home. If I jump over to my IDE real
Looks like
quick.
Sanjay has a question. Is Strands Agents available for Node.js?
So this is something we get asked quite a lot. At the moment, the SDK is just Python. We do have on GitHub an open feature request for this. So definitely go and give that a +1 in the issues. It's definitely on our radar, along with maybe some other languages as well. Definitely something we're considering. Yeah.
And we also have a question from Vivek. Not that we want to interrupt from the demo, but the question is the difference between the agents using agents from Bedrock agents and versus agents from Strands.
So Bedrock Agents is a fully managed service. That means that you don't have to worry about deploying your agents to the cloud. It also means that your agents will run in the cloud. It is an opinionated service, which means that you have the setup for building your agents and you can use that quite quickly. So when you are building agents and you want a fully managed experience, you can Bedrock agents, and you set up the instructions and you set up your toolings and you can get your agent running. Strands Agent is an open source framework which runs locally out of the box and where you can deploy. You can choose your technology for deploying. So it is pretty it's different personas as well, right? Like if you want the fully managed experience, you can use Bedrock agents. And when you want to have all the flexibility of open source, of being able to change the functions that you want and of deploying it where you want, then you can use Strands agents. They're complementary offerings. It's as Amanda was showing, it goes on the full spectrum of agentic AI development.
And I think when you think about it, it's Strands Agents is geared for those developers who may want deeper customization and those capabilities and more flexibility when it comes to the models that are available, as well as the AWS services that it's integrated with.
Yes. Okay, back to VS Code here. So this just outlines the functionality of the 3 agents that we're going to be piecing together. We can get started. So if you're following along at home, you'll need these prerequisites. So Python and Docker, the main ones. We're going to be using Amazon Bedrock here with Claude Sonnet 4. So we'll need an AWS account. I already set mine up earlier, of course. So we can get started with setting up the repository here. So I have it cloned, the samples repository. We have the O2 samples, O5 personal assistant that we mentioned. Here we can see the 3 agents, right? We can see the calendar assistant, the code assistant, the search assistant. So we can get started by following some good Python practices and installing a virtual environment. Install the dependencies. This just installs Strands SDK, that kind of thing. At this point, we would set up our model provider credentials. So in this case, we're using Amazon Bedrock. So we can use the AWS credentials from these usual environment variables, or we can use AWS configure to set those. And then because we're using Perplexity MCP server, we have our API key here as well.
Now, is this going to deploy the MCP server as a remote MCP server in your account, or is this already set up?
No, this one, this MCP server, I'll show in a second when we get to the search system, but this is just a local MCP server running a local process. But yeah, Strands does support all of the MCP spec for tools and the different transports. So HTTP streamable and server-side events as well.
That's great, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So if we start with, let me make my terminal a little bigger here. We can clear the install. So we just installed. We can start the calendar assistant agent. I need to go into the personal assistant directory here. And if I run a calendar assistant, I'm in the wrong Python environment here.
So while we are pulling this up, we have like a couple of questions, right? So I know maybe we're going to touch on this, but how can I get created with, how can I use guardrails? I guess is the question for Strands, right? So
You can integrate guardrails into your application. So you can, for instance, use Amazon Bedrock guardrails in your application, and then you can pass that either before or after the model execution, or both for your application. But if you're using Bedrock models, you can also add that into the Bedrock model definition itself. We can share some examples using guardrails with Bedrock models, but overall, you should add guardrails to your applications.
So it sounds like it really, the best of breed here with Strands. A customer can have self-hosted models and Bedrock hosted models if they want to have that kind of optionality, but still use some of the best services of Bedrock, like guardrails or, some other kind of security solution that they may have with Strands. If they have some kind of agentic security platform.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we wanted to keep as one of our core principles, right? The flexible nature, integrations with various different open source and APIs and tools for observability, different model providers, all of that, guardrails and security things as well. Yeah.
And again, everyone wants to explore Olama, try and use that as well, right? So I see that the model providers also includes Olama as a choice to be able to pull the models from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So here in my terminal, I just started the agent. I said hello, as you can see. I replied saying, hello, I'm your calendar assistant. We could say, what appointments do I have this week? So what we would expect it to do now, we can see the assistant is calling the list appointments tool there. And yet, of course, I have the show today, right, that we're doing now. So this is an appointment that I scheduled earlier. So what the model has done here is it's taken my request, reasoned about it using Claude Sonnet v4 in this case, decided that calling the list appointments tool is what it needs to do, got the response from that, which gets all of the information about my appointments from an SQLite database, and then reasons about that and gives me my response here. So yeah, just a quick, simple example.
Aaron, could we schedule a fun for agents next week, exactly at this time, where all the folks here will have their agents deployed already, and they will be planning what to do with their personal assistant?
Yes, so we can say schedule a meeting at this time next week for everyone to share all of the awesome stuff that they built on Strands Agents. So we can give pretty broad questions here. So the model, as we can see, is checking the current time. It understands the current time, date and time here. So it's recording it next week for me. So it created the appointment, and now we have in 1 week's time at the same time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, that appointment for us.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so if I'll just minimize my terminal, we can look at the code here. Close my file tree. So we start with a couple of imports. You'll see this in pretty much all of them. We import the agent class. Let me zoom in a little bit here. We import the agent class on line 2. We're using Bedrock, as we mentioned. So on line 3, we're importing that. Strands tools is our built-in tools package. So here we're using the current time tool, and then a couple of custom tools that we've built ourselves. We'll look at those in just a moment as well. So a few imports here. We're enabling, for the built-in tools, we have 2 modes. If you're working in a CLI, like we are here in a terminal, can be quite useful to show like a rich UI in the terminal for that. So we enable this, which you'll see shortly. Here's where the agent's actually being called. So very simple on line 22. Very simple, right? We're just passing in this string to the agent, which is our query. It's what I typed in the terminal. That's what this query value is here. We call the agent and return the response as a string. Simple as that. So this is invoking the agent, this calendar assistant function here. We have the usual stuff you might expect. 3 main things. So the system prompt here for the Calendar Assistant gives the model guidance on how it should behave, its role, that sort of stuff. We have the model as mentioned. Line 32, you can see we're using Claude Sonnet v4 here. And here's where we instantiate the agent on line 35. So this is where we configure how our agent should behave, tell it which tools it has available, which system prompt to use, which model to use, various configuration options available. So we pass in the model, the system prompt, and these 5 tools that we have. So the example built-in tool, current time, along with our 4 custom tools. Trace attributes we'll talk about towards the end. This is used for observability. So we can see what our agents are doing and why they're behaving a certain way, which tools they called, why they decided to call that, their reasoning as well. And then at the end here, this is just our terminal helper script, right? We're just getting the user's input and passing it to our calendar assistant function, which if we go back up to the top, that's, as we saw earlier, it's just calling our agent, very simple. So that's the code for the calendar assistant, pretty simple, right? We do the imports, instantiate our agent on line 35, and then we have this function that calls the agent on line 22. Those main 3 things: import, instantiate, run. Pretty simple.
We need an MCP tool. Can we talk about how to do that with an MCP tool as well?
Yes. So if we jump over to the search assistant, let me open that in my terminal real quick as well. So we can run, might clear that. We run the search assistant here. So here we have a terminal again. We could say something like, do a quick search for Strands Agents SDK and tell me what it is. So this time we're running a different agent, right? Our search assistant agent. Here we can see again, the same flow. The model has taken our request, the system prompt that we have, which I'll show you in a moment, and it's calling the Perplexity ask tool here. If I jump over to the code while that's running, I'll pull that up again in a second, but we see something very similar here, right? We have our imports, importing the agent class, the Bedrock model. We have an additional import here on line 6 for this MCP client. And if we scroll down, this is the main addition, the main difference in the search assistant compared to the calendar assistant, right? We're instantiating this Perplexity MCP server. So very similar setup. So we do the imports, we instantiate the agent and the MCP server, and then we can run our agent and it's able to use tools from this MCP server.
How do I know the tools?
Yes. So once we're running, and to Adam's question from earlier, here we can see it's running on standard IO, this MCP server. So this is a local process. Here, in this case, it's running on Docker. Once we've instantiated it like this, just assign it to a variable, very simple. If we scroll down in the code here, we have this list tools function on line 89. This calls the MCP server. Part of the MCP specification, there's a list tools function, right? It tells you what tools the MCP server has for your agents. So we call this, get the list of tools, and then just how we passed the 5 tools to the calendar assistant agent, we just passed that tools variable here that we got from the MCP server. We just passed that to our agent on line 94. Then our agent's tools are the tools in the MCP server, and it will just call them in the appropriate cases for us.
So this makes it pretty simple, right? So the MCP server could expose a number of tools, but we no longer need to individually package them and then send them. All we need to do is just invoke the list tool sync, and then we're going to get a list of everything here.
Yes, exactly. You can
also, so I think it's really powerful too to have the MCP client built into Strands is such a powerful pattern. As well as A2A, agent to agent eventually as well. I think that's such an awesome feature.
Yes. I absolutely love how you don't need to change your assistant code when the MCP server is changing in the background, because it remains the same, but you will just get to call the tools here and you'll get this information. So it's really, really powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Let's talk about code assistant and multi-agent collaboration, right? I really love
Yes.
how we didn't write the code for any tool on the code assistant. And when Aaron and I were developing this one this weekend, it was really cool because in like 3 lines of code, you have your code assistant.
What does a code assistant do, Myra?
It can help you like creating and executing code. And it debugs things, it can do CLI commands. It's really powerful.
Yeah, let me start it up here. I can show an example.
And as you're doing this, does this use any MCP servers, or is it all built
No. For this one, so here we can see this is in the code assistant file, also in the samples repository. So in the code assistant file here, we can see the agent has a different set of tools, right? It has the Python REPL tool on line 34, has the Python REPL. This allows the agent to run Python code, either that you provide to it or that it generates itself. The editor tool allows it to edit, read, write files, that kind of thing. Shell can run bash commands, that kind of stuff. Really useful for running formatters, linters, debuggers, even for automatically running unit tests once the agent has written code for you, that kind of stuff. And this, with the style of agents where they have this feedback mechanism, right, the agent loop, it's really useful for the agent to be able to call these tools and test what it has done, right? So it can write code for you and then test it. If it fails, it can understand the failures and iterate on those. We have the journal tool as well, which again helps with this kind of iteration. The agent is able to kind of set up a plan for itself in the journal and work through.
Can it help us improving our calendar assistant? I realize we forgot to delete appointments. It's never possible to delete an appointment.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. So yeah, if we look at the files here, for the calendar assistant, we have these calendar tools, right? So these are the tools that we saw at the beginning for listing my appointments and creating an appointment. If we take a real quick look at the create appointment tool, really simple to build a custom tool. So this is just a Python function, as you see, and we add this very simple @tool decorator on line 6, and that allows any Python function to become a tool.
That's simple. Nice.
Yeah, that's simple. Yeah. We tried to, like I mentioned, we tried to keep the DevX simple. So this was, I really like this personally. You pass in your parameters for the Python function. These are what the model will generate for you based on the context, right? So when I asked it from Myra's question to create an appointment next week, the date it provided was for next week. The location was Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn live stream, right? The title was what we provided in the context. And under the hood, this doc string here, this is used as the description for your tool. So this @tool decorator makes it super easy to turn any Python function into a tool. You can even import tools from other frameworks and use those with your Strands agents as well in this manner. So back to Myra's question, you see we have some tools here for creating, getting, listing, and updating appointments. We don't have anything for deleting. So we can ask our coding agent to do that. So I'm going to copy the path to these tools. I'll open up our terminal where the coding agent's waiting patiently for us. We could say, I have some Python tools in this folder. I want to add a tool that deletes appointments as well. I can say this is for the calendar system, right? And I'll show it where that is as well. So if I didn't give it these paths, it would attempt to discover where they are, right? But if I already know where they are, it can be useful to provide that as context. So we'll give it that request. So here it's using the editor tool. Here we see it's listing some files. This is the nice this is the rich UI that we enabled, right? So with that, at that environment variable, if I go back to our code assistant, this environment variable enables this nice UI here. So it wants to run a command. We can confirm that. It's checking what tool files are there, using shell to run find and see what else is in here, see if I missed anything. Model doesn't trust me, so it's just double checking. So here we can see it tried to look for a file that doesn't exist. Good context for the model. Now it's reading through those tool files, right? This is the content of those tool files for creating the appointments and updating them. So it's doing this automatically, reading this for us, reasoning through. Now it's using the Python REPL tool, as we can see, examining some of those tools files. Okay. So it's creating an init py for me. So it's found that in the calendar assistant where we are, just jump back to the code here, where we're importing all of these, we could make this a bit simpler, right? If this calendar tools directory had an init file, that would make it simpler to import these tools. So it's making that change for me here. And here we can see the delete appointment tool that it has suggested. So it's suggesting to create it in delete appointment.py. There's a Python function, right, with the appointment ID, has that tool decorator that's imported from Strands on line 3. And here we can see it's using SQLite, just like the other tools, to delete, to actually delete appointments. So we can save that. Then we could go and add it to the search assistant and continue from there and use this tool.
Already documented. I love it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And you didn't write a ton of code through that. It really was going back and forth, working with the tool.
Yes, exactly. So now that we have these 3 agents, we just cancel out of this. We'll clear that. Now that we have these 3 agents, so we have our calendar assistant, we have our search assistant with MCP, we have our code assistant with the built-in tools that's able to find context and information itself, as you just saw, and then actually build working code and software for us. So we want to piece all of these together into the personal assistant, multi-agent kind of style. So very similar again, if I open up this personal assistant file, you're following along. Same kind of thing that we saw earlier, right? We have this agent that we import and the Bedrock model again. Agent is being instantiated on line 16. And there's one interesting difference here. We're using these 3 agents as tools in this case. So this is kind of a supervisor pattern, right? Where you have the personal assistant. Let me just jump back to the diagram. We have this personal assistant orchestrating to the other 2 agents, kind of like a supervisor. So we pass those as tools, right? If we look in the calendar assistant, we have this calendar assistant function. That's what's being imported in the personal assistant. All we have to do to make this work is add @tool. We can import that from Strands as well. And just as simple as that, now this agent is able to be invoked as a tool with this function. So we can go ahead and just add that to all of the agents. So we'll add it to the search assistant as well, and the code assistant.
And this really speaks to Strands, like basically model-driven first paradigm, right? Of this pattern that, is model-driven as opposed to, maybe some of the other frameworks out there. This was really built from the ground up to be agentic.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And we can see how easy it is to build these agents, right? So supervisor pattern, being able to, I think this is great. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, we really tried to take advantage of some of the newer models, right? They've improved a lot since 2023. You often don't need to build a lot of complex orchestration anymore with these newer models. In certain cases, of course, you do, and Strands is flexible enough to do that, provides some of these tools that make it easy for you to do that. But yeah, we really tried to lean into that to make it as powerful as possible. Really, we get really good results from these. So Here we have the personal assistant. We can see it has our 3 agents in there. So we can say like, what appointments do I have next week, right? We scheduled that one on the 10th of June. And here we see the tool that it's calling is actually the calendar assistant. And now the response is this second response, I'll help you check your appointments. That is from the calendar assistant. So the personal assistant has called the calendar agent. The calendar agent has called, we can see here, it has called the current time tool for us, the calendar assistant. It's listed our appointments, given that information back to the personal assistant agent, the supervisor. And then the supervisor has responded here at the very end, right? That's how we get our response. We can do the same thing with some of the other agents, right? So we could say, what appointments do I have today? And do a quick search for what's going on in Manhattan at the same time.
While this is running, we have a couple of questions in the chat. I know we're getting close to the end of that, so we'll try to take a few of them. We have this question: how's Strands Agent different than Clue AI?
I think we can add the Crew AI and link chain, link graph to the question as well, right? So how is Strands Agent different from the open source frameworks that we have in the market right now? Aaron, do you want to take a first shot at that?
Yeah. So we've used a lot of these other frameworks ourselves internally in the past. Claire Liguri, one of the senior principal engineers on Amazon Q, wrote a really great blog post about it actually for the launch. And we've found that a lot of these other frameworks were built a couple of years ago in 2023 when models were not as capable of orchestrating things. And there are still cases today where you want more customized, perhaps code-defined manual workflows. Totally possible with Strands, but we've found with some of the newer models, especially since some of the GPT-4 kind of models and Claude 3 and Claude 3.7 and Claude 4, they're really good at doing some of this orchestration with tools and even between other agents, as we see here, right? So we really tried to lean into that a lot. I would say that we've also heard from customers that they, a lot of frameworks and a lot of MCP servers and things exist in open source, right, with very powerful tools that they want to use in their agents. So we've also, with the tool decorator, for example, tried to make it so that, if you have a tool in a custom built tool or in another package somewhere, you can import it and use it with Strands as well.
Yeah, so just to give like an overview to this question. So what Strands Agent does pretty well is to rely on the model reasoning capabilities. So it's a model first type of framework. It is more focused on like the tool usage, and the loop is based on what the model wants. So it's less opinionated than frameworks like AI and link chain, link graph, where you would have, like, for instance, React, or you would have a plan and solver, or you would have any type of orchestration. The orchestration here is based more on the model. However, you can also write your own prompts to have this more opinionated orchestration. So we are just discussing that when we were building this one, which we did in a couple of hours. So like, okay, how can I change the orchestration from the model to be something more plan and solver? You can instruct the model to do so based on the prompts that you're giving, like on your system prompt. On top of that, what I think it's pretty cool, it relies a lot on the model setup as well. So for instance, like thinking, right? Like some of the newer models have this reasoning capability. So you can enable thinking with just a flag on the model. And all of those are out of the box. So it's a less opinionated, very lightweight model that relies a lot on the newer LLMs, because the newer LLMs are already fine-tuned for agentic workloads.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing this demo, walking us through how easy it is to build this agentic app. There's a lot more that we really want to dive. We have a number of questions in the chat. We really want you folks to come back again and continue this, right? So we want you to probably do a deeper dive on on Strands and share more knowledge to our viewers who are, pretty excited about this as well. So with that, Adam, what do you think?
This is awesome. I love it. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for having us. I would, if folks want to, stay up to date and that kind of thing as well, definitely go and follow the GitHub org, star the repos. You'll get notifications for those. We have a discussion board on there. Yeah, pretty vibrant sort of community building up. So please.
And Aaron, how can people contribute since this is an open sourced framework?
Yeah, contributions very welcome. Please file issues, pull requests. There is a contribution guide in the repositories as well. So yeah, looking forward to see folks there.
We'll get back to all your questions in chat, but from us, from the show and tell series today, this week, this is all we got. We'll definitely get our folks back, to chat more on Strands. But it was nice having you all, and thanks for all the viewers to view this. Right, come back again next week for another episode. Next week we'll have Claude 4 and interval thinking demo for us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks all.